Hello, everybody. Of course, my name is Josh Gholson, and welcome back to Every Week English. Um, so far, it hasn't been every week. I've been on a little bit of a hiatus. Hiatus, that simply means a break, right? Sort of a fancy word for it. You can also use the word sabbatical. A sabbatical, often when you're studying and then you go on a break to research something. Um, but you can use it in everyday language. Um, I went on a sabbatical, and people are like, "Oh, okay." Um, this will be the start of, I think, season two. This will be the first episode, and I know we've talked a lot about travel, um, though I have not talked about my personal travels, and I think that's what we'll do with this class. Um, so to begin with, we'll go over some idioms. The first one is hook, line, and sinker, um, which means typically you buy into something fully. So, for example, I got scammed, hook, line, and sinker. So that means the scammer took all of my money, right? Um, or recently, I got back into the Warhammer hobby, hook, line, and sinker. Right, so all of my passion is focused on it. This first one. Now, the second one is resting on your laurels. Not used as often, um, but laurels and a laurel wreath is what the ancient Roman philosophers and ancient Greek philosophers used to wear on their heads. You can think of that. Caesar, uh, whenever you were crowned, he was crowned with laurels as a Caesar. Um, and so resting on your laurels means, all right, you've done something great in the past, and now you're just coasting, right? You say, I don't have to do anything else because I've done that. So, for example, I have written 4 fantasy novels, and currently I'm resting on my laurels, right? So I'm not writing anymore currently, though I should get back to it. So it's not really a good thing to rest on your laurels. Um, and the third one will be to bear a grudge. And bearing a grudge means that someone insulted you or offended you, and you hold it personally against them, right? And so that is a grudge. It's not a good thing either. You don't want to bear a grudge. Typically, you want to let grudges go. Otherwise, yeah, this time we'll also go over some relative vocabulary words with traveling. A lot with go, right? So we have go abroad. That means to go outside of the country, go away for the weekend, leave the house on Saturday and Sunday. And then you go by, let's say, bus, car, plane, train, ship, so on. You go camping, right? You go to the woods, you sleep in the woods, go for a walk, go on holiday, go on vacation, go out at night, go out during the day. Um, Sightseeing, right, means you're looking at all of um, the big famous things in the area. You can think of it as pamyatniki, right? Monuments, I think. And then, of course, for activities, you go with the ing. So let's say go walking, go swimming, surfing, fishing, so on and so forth. Um, those are really good ones. Some other really good adjectives to cover and to use when you're talking about traveling. Things like comfortable, luxurious, friendly, helpful, beautiful, lovely, warm, sunny. Those are all very positive things. Luxurious means it's quite fancy. Probably you paid a lot of money for it. You get really great service. Now, on the negative side, it would be basic, dirty, uncomfortable, unfriendly, unhelpful, noisy, crowded, windy, foggy, and cloudy. So, a couple of ways to describe traveling and travels there. Um, as for my travels, I'll try and do it chronologically, right? So that means from when I first traveled to the very end, we call it sequentially or in order, right? One, two, three, four, five, so on. Um, so the very first time I traveled abroad, that was to Italy, of course. My brother was studying Italian there in Florence, and I was 17, a senior in high school, so fourth year student in high school. Um, a really cool trip. I had blisters, like huge blisters on my feet from walking around so much. We went to Florence, Rome, uh, Pompeii, Herculaneum, Syracuse, Sicily, Taormina, Sicily, and then I went to Malta by myself. Right, so already that's two different countries. Um, while my brother had to finish up his exams, then I went to Venice by myself, and then back to Florence by myself for a flight home. Um, really cool trip. When I was growing up, I was a very big fan of the Romans. So I studied Latin and I knew how to read some of the things written on like the gravestones and everything. And one of the things that I tried to do there was drink water from all of the ancient Roman fountains. Another great word, ancient. You can think 1,000 years or older, right? So it's older than old. Um, and I got very sick when I drank it in Herculaneum because the water is connected to Naples water. And Naples water is not good for American stomachs. Then I went to uh, Italy with my parents and my brother. Um, we did that. And we also went to the Czech Republic during that trip. Now, after that, I went to Russia, right, because I studied Russian language and culture at university. So I did a semester abroad, about 3 months, and that was when I was 20. And when I turned 21, uh, I wound up in Thailand, right, with my girlfriend at the time, Yulia, who's now my wife, um, of what is it, 3.5 years, almost 4 years now. And so I remember I called my parents on FaceTime and I said, happy birthday, happy 21st birthday. I said, you'll never guess where I am. Right? And they had no idea I was in Thailand. Fantastic place, really cool. We went to a place down in the southeast near the Cambodian border. We also went to Cambodia, to Angkor Wat, again, amazing over there, to see the ancient history. It was quite interesting because we actually gave it to border runners. So we gave our passports over, and basically they held on to our passports for about 3 days. As they gave bribes to get into Cambodia to get a visa, while we were saying Angkor Wat. Cambodia is one of the most corrupt nations in the world. It's accepted, it's common there. So Cambodia, Thailand, really cool. Of course, after that, went back to Russia to finish the semester. I studied at the Higher School of Economics. Again, quite interesting. I pretty much dropped all of my classes so I could date Yulia. Sort of an investment for the future. And it paid out, right? Got married. And then what is it? Of course, my parents didn't know about that, which is sort of crazy. And then my parents came to visit us. Actually, that was back in 2018, and I showed them around Moscow. We went to Nizhny Novgorod and St. Petersburg, and we also went then on a tour of Eastern Europe. So we went to Tallinn, Estonia. We went to Latvia, so Riga and Sigulda. And then we went to Krakow, Poland, as well as Budapest, Hungary. And then I believe we flew out of Frankfurt, Germany. Um, so you could sort of count that. Um, really fun trip. Highly recommend Eastern Europe. It's favorite places over here. Um, I teach Latvians mostly now. Fantastic people. Very modest, very hardworking. Um, it seems they're very influenced by the Scandinavian culture, and currently a lot of American influences there also. Very different from Hungary. I still such a strange place, Hungary. I was walking with my parents, and I got propositioned, right, by a prostitute, and it's the first time in my life where that's ever happened. It's really crazy. Um, yeah, and there we went to the baths also because it's famous for that. Really cool. I remember they have a very cold ice bath, and I got in there. I have a pretty good tolerance. And so I was sitting there for maybe 30 minutes, and other people would come over and they would see this guy like chilling in the bath and they would think it's warm. Right. And I was like, yeah, come on, it's warm. So they would go in, they would scream and run away because it's freezing water. Um, it was a lot of fun. And then I for a while I did trips between Russia and America, right? About every 3 months. I was working ever since high school. Um, I worked at a call center for George Mason University. I called people, I asked them for money, and I became so good at that that I became the supervisor there. So that's how I was able to fund, traveling to see Yulia. Likewise, she helped me out a lot. And yeah, her sister lives in Germany, Berlin, and so we visited her, I think, twice. Very interesting city. It's basically a carbon copy of DC, right? Carbon copy means it's almost exactly the same. So for me, it's really not interesting. The only difference is that they have a museum island, which is quite cool, and they have a museum called the Pergamum, if I remember correctly, which has like a full Roman uh, temple inside of it. Really, really crazy. And it has a full-size copy of the codes of Hammurabi, which are the oldest law codes to have existed, I think. So very cool place. Otherwise, like again, it's same as DC, same prices. Um, Everybody speaks English, of course. Um, Likewise, after World War II, we Americans, we rebuilt it after our image, right? So it makes a lot of sense. I would like to travel outside of like Berlin to see the castles and things like that in Germany. That's why Krakow was so cool, and Tallinn also, because they have really fantastic castles, and I'm quite interested in history. Um, Now, as well as Germany. So in 2019, we did a Greece trip. Awesome, one of the best trips I've had. I think it was 2 weeks. Rented a car. I drove around. We did planned it out specifically to see all the highlights. So we went to Athens, and it's the only place in the world where I've been pickpocketed, but not me, but Yulia. So I caught somebody who was trying to pickpocket Yulia, and I had to sort of beat him up, you know, um, right as you do, to make sure he doesn't steal things. Um, Athens, the city itself is like really crime ridden. We saw tons of riot officers with the full shields and the helmets and everything. Never seen that before. Um, but if you ignore that, and once you see the Acropolis, it's fantastic. So we stayed very close to the Acropolis, and yeah, it's amazing, really, to see the old temples there. Then we did a tour of the Peloponnesus. So I drove around through a canal. What is it? Greece's smallest canal. It's the size of only a ship to get through. Really cool place that cuts through the Peloponnesus Strait. And if you guys don't know the geography, it's all mountains there. And so as I was driving, we went to Delphi. Amazing again. Tons of history over there. That's where all of the Greeks and the city states would go to ask the god, right? I believe it was Apollo, um, to see what they should do, and they would give offerings and things like that. And it's up in the mountains, beautifully fantastic scenery up there, and all the ruins are still there. It's really really cool. Another crazy thing is as we were driving, like on the highways, there were just a flood of illegal aliens, migrants, going across the highways, and you sort of had to play Frogger to try not to hit them. Right? That's again really crazy because you read about these things, especially in America, but to see it firsthand is something else. And so Delphi, and then um, we visited Sparta, though there is nothing in Sparta anymore, and it's been that way for a while. We visited old, fantastically preserved Byzantine castles also. Again, really, really cool. Yeah, place where the whole castle is there, the whole churches are still there. We stayed in Nafplion and drove around from there. Likewise, we saw where the very first Olympics had ever taken place, and the oldest arch stone in the world, which is still standing, still holding up an arch. Again, just amazing. And to see like Argos, Mykonos, and all of these things where you read about them in mythology and you can actually see them in real life. So I would go back to Greece in a heartbeat. Likewise, I drove through the Peloponnesus to the Meteora. And what is the Meteora? It's, I believe, 4 or 5 Greek Orthodox monasteries on pillars of rock, just standing there. And it's really incredible, the sights to see. And it's something else because these monasteries, they only have like 30 monks out of all of them. And then they just have the local population who helps them out. I actually got a prayer rope from there. Prayer ropes, it's sort of like a Catholic prayer bead, but it's for the Orthodox. And the old story goes is a monk was trying to pray the Jesus prayer. The Jesus prayer is, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And in Orthodox teaching, you should repeat this in your head over and over again, sort of like a mantra, to help you stay focused on Christ. And so as a monk was saying this prayer, well, the devil would come and distract him. So what did he do? He started putting rocks on top of each other every time he said the prayer, and then the devil knocked down the rocks, right? And then he said, okay, that didn't work, so I'm gonna put sticks. So he started putting sticks, wind blew down the sticks. Finally, he got the bright idea to tie a rope in the shape of a cross. And he did that 33 times for the years that Christ lived, right? And so that worked. So as you're praying the Jesus prayer, you go through your rope and you pray it. So again, Meteora, really cool place. Greece, yeah, excellent place, all in all. Um, I and then also in Europe, been to Turkey, and actually I'm going to Turkey on Saturday morning of this week, like early morning. We went there for an all-inclusive, the very first time, and that's we're going back to the same all-inclusive now. Um, Again, just fantastic service where we're going. It's near Alanya, and Alanya is on the eastern side of Turkey, close by Antalya. Um, it's sort of a resort city. A lot of Russians, Ukrainians, British, and Germans go there. And there's a whole local expat community of Brits that I met up with. Um, Now we actually lived in Alanya for I believe it was 2 months, so around 60 days back in 2022, which was pretty cool. Um, yeah, and of course, people forget like current Turkey, it used to be Byzantium, which used to be Rome, right? And so most of the places where the apostles um, went are actually in Turkey. And so they've got incredible Roman ruins there. We went to Istanbul also. Again, big fan of that. I got in my first fight in Istanbul um, because we were talking to a juice vendor, and so the price as written was like 30 lira, and over there you tend to haggle because haggle means to negotiate prices, because that's sort of in their culture. And so I said, all right, 10, right, I'll do 10 lira. And he said, no, 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 20. And I said, I'll do 15. And he said, okay, 15 for a juice drink. And so he serves it up, and I try to hand him the money, and he says, 30, right? And I said, you just told me 15, right? Um, Now, I was buying drinks for Yulia and her sister Olga, and Yulia had already started to drink her drink by the time I was going to pay for Olga's. Um, and so Olga put her drink back, Yulia finished her drink, and I kept trying to give him the cash, right? And he wouldn't take it. And so I said, all right, girls, let's go. And so we started walking, and he started shouting at us. And I said, here, take the money we agreed on. And he refused. And so I kept going, started walking faster. He came over, he grabbed my shirt collar. All right, I sort of brushed him off there, and I tried giving him the money again. Right, and again he refused. So we got down further, and then again he really grabbed my collar strongly. This is your collar, by the way. Um, and I dug my right. He was about to punch me, and I dug my nails into his hand, right? And I got back about to punch him back, and then Olga started screaming, murder, murder, help, help. And so a group of other Turks came over and pulled him off of me. Really crazy, really shaken. First fight of my life, which goes to talk about how in the West we never get into fights anymore, unfortunately, or fortunately. It depends how you look at it. Because they have a very masculine culture in the Islamic world, unlike the West. And yeah, that was quite interesting. A bit rattled or shaken from that, which means like nervous. Yeah, so that was experience in Istanbul. Otherwise, like very cool sights to see downtown. Um, and we went to Cleopatra's pools also, where it's carbonated and they have carbon dioxide cliffs, which look like salt. Really fantastic. Um, as well as a couple of other places there. Likewise, we spent about a month or 2 months in Georgia, and Georgia as in the country, Gruzia. Um, Very cool place, very much like the Georgian culture. They really do stand up for themselves. They've got a lot of history over there. And we stayed in Tbilisi. Of course, saw all of the sites there. They have a great botanical garden inside of the city. It's a huge park. And we also saw this monastery built into the cliffs of built into the cliffs. Yeah, and very old, um, very very old monastery. Likewise, my parents came to visit us in Turkey, and as well as Yuli's sister from Germany, um, and we went to Cappadocia. But I'll tell you guys, Cappadocia, it's sort of a scam. All those Instagram posts you see and YouTube videos, it's sort of like propaganda for Cappadocia. Um, I don't really recommend it in real life. We got up at I think 3 a.m. to see the balloons go, which was pretty cool. And we also went to one of the underground cities, which was quite neat as well, those were built by like the ancients. It's really, really old there. And so that was quite cool. Although I did skip over a country which was India, although you could argue it wasn't like proper India. We were in Goa, and Goa has two parts: North Goa, South Goa. One part is known for like parties and drugs and things like that. The other part is known for just relaxation. And so that's what we did. Another really good holiday. No Wi-Fi, no internet, so just pure relaxation on the beach. Yeah, so India was nice where we went. And likewise, we went to Kazakhstan over the summer, and then Kyrgyzstan as well. We went to Dagestan inside of Russia. Really cool places. Dagestan is where got this wonderful hat for the cold weather made out of wool sheep, very stinky. But yeah, otherwise, that's a bit about my travels. Traveled quite a bit. Traveled to the States every 6 months also, which is something else. Don't forget about those idioms: hook, line, and sinker, resting on your laurels, and to bear a grudge. Otherwise, I hope to see you guys next week. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends.